What is up, everybody? This is Chase, and welcome back to the Wellness Center podcast. I am so grateful to be here with you today. If you're not already a part of the tribe, please make sure to like and subscribe so you can get updated on everything that we do here, which is destigmatizing mental health, one episode at a time. Again, I'm so excited for my guest today. This man is truly phenomenal, a warrior, a righteous son of God, someone who I don't even have the words, to be honest. I'm truly taken back when I think about the power that this man brings. So I'm so grateful that he was willing to take some time and come on the show today. And as we go into this conversation with this guest, I want you to be thinking of one or two people that you know that could benefit from this conversation. And I want you to share it with them as you're listening to the episode, just to be that personal little touch and let them know that you love them and to teach them the skills and the tools that they're going to need to better their life every single day. So without further ado, I've been talking enough. I want to bring on this amazing guest. So by way of introduction, my guest is the co-creator and owner of Therapy Utah. He is a licensed therapist in LCSW with certifications in EMDR, CBT, and DBD. He's a writer and a blogger. He currently hosts two podcasts, The Therapy Brothers and The Brannon Patrick Show. If you don't know his name already, there you go. He's a content creator with something called Reclaim Your Heart. He's a married man of 15 years. He's one of the leaders of the Radiant Dawn and the Rising Suns Conference. And most importantly, he is a son of God. So without further ado, the man, the myth, and the legend, Brannon Patrick. Brannon, how you doing
Yeah,
today?
wow. With that introduction, Chase, I'm great today.
Good, dude. I think
Yeah.
everyone needs an epic introduction.
Yeah, that felt great. So I'm good.
Good, man. Good. You enjoy. So we're filming on President's Day. Have you done anything fun on your day off?
Well, I haven't really had a day off. So I think I'm gonna go do some night skiing tonight with my kids. So that should be fun.
Oh, that'll be a
Yeah.
lot of fun. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, Brannon, just so for those people who don't know, can you just give us some cookie cutter answers as to who you are?
Yeah. I'm a husband, father. Um, been doing therapy as a therapist for the good part of the last 2 decades, I guess.
Mhm.
I'm an old man, so that has seen a lot. Nothing shocks me. But I do consider myself a warrior for truth, someone who fights for people and their healing and all of those things. So that's me in a
I love
nutshell.
it. Yeah, I love it. And so let's just dive right into some of these questions, Brandon. This is going to be awesome. So, for someone who has nothing shocks you anymore, you've obviously seen a lot and been through a lot as well. So, take us back, Brandon, to a young Brannon Patrick. When were some of the first times that you struggled with mental health?
Huh. Um, I would say that that's an interesting question for me, Chase, because
Okay.
I think I've always kind of told myself I've been in some denial about my mental health. You know,
Right. Okay.
I'm just good. Things are fine. Things are fine. Things are fine.
Hmm.
But the reality is growing up, like shame was my middle name.
Okay.
I grew up just feeling bad about myself, a
Okay.
lot. Just feeling like I was a failure, feeling like I wasn't good enough, feeling like I wasn't living up to what I was supposed to live up to.
Hmm.
Um, and so I started using all kinds of kind of tactics and strategies to hide and avoid showing my real self. And
Hmm.
I I remember in junior high, you know, elementary I was kind of bumping along. I hit seventh grade and I remember feeling really depressed.
Hmm.
Seventh, eighth grade. I started to hate my dad. I
Hmm.
started to isolate more, and I just became really shy and introverted.
Gotcha.
And that was not me naturally. That's not like who I am.
Hmm.
And I felt like I got trapped more and more in a cage,
Hmm.
where the only way I knew how to cope with all the shame and the things that I felt was to hide by being shy.
Hmm.
Um, and it was hard. Like I remember feeling pretty down during those years.
Yeah.
Life was rough. So that's the first recollection I have of struggling with some mental health issues.
Hmm. So it's kind of that seventh grade time is when it really started to be prominent. And you're like, what kind of caused that shame to come in? Were there certain like situations or moments that are ingrained in your brain?
Yeah, I talk about big T trauma, little T trauma.
Hmm.
Um and for your audience, when I say that, like big T trauma is like a big event that just rocks someone's world, right?
Right.
Little T trauma is just subtle things that happen. It's like undertones.
Hmm.
It's the culture that you live in.
Right.
And I had some big T trauma, actually. I had some things happen to me as a child that I didn't realize were big T trauma that were.
Hmm.
But I had a ton of little T trauma. So my family system was really interesting. It was a bit more rigid than I realized. We
Hmm.
had it was enmeshed. We had a lot of expectations, and we were expected to be a certain way. I mean,
Right.
you were a Patrick, so you
Yeah.
did these things. Um, and I had my older brother Tyler, who you interviewed, and I love him. He's my best friend, but he was the family hero, and
Hmm.
so he was Mr. Golden Child who could do no wrong, that mom and dad were so proud of, and everything he did.
Right.
And I was a year younger than him, and the name of the game for me in the family was just not living up to him. Like I couldn't compete. And
Yeah. Okay.
so that message to me was just like, here's your expectations, you're not meeting the expectations, what's wrong with you? Was kind of the feeling that I had all growing up.
Yeah. What was that? Were those feelings, was that something that like your mom and dad and your other siblings instilled in you, or was that something you put on yourself?
That both, both,
Okay.
and I know I want to blame or be
Mm.
stuck in blame. I don't think my parents were intentionally trying to shame me or anything like that,
Yeah.
but the system was not healthy.
Right.
The system didn't lend to being just you who you are.
Right. Because you
And
were a
and
Patrick.
yeah, you were a Patrick son, boy.
Hmm.
So you played sports, you got these grades, you did this thing, you worshipped God this way, you never missed church, and I could go down the list of
Right.
boom, 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 boom. This is who you are,
Hmm.
and I think my parents were trying to protect me and trying to help me become the best version of me,
Hmm.
but there was little wiggle room to just be me
Hmm.
and to be okay. Um, and so what happened is when I didn't start to live up to some of those expectations, then my internal voice took over and said, "Look, you're not enough. You're not okay." So now what you need to do is shame screen and hide and figure out how to survive in this system
Yeah.
that you're not really okay in. So it was both. It was me taking it on. I remember getting uh I, I tell this story. Fifth grade, my mom showed up at the school, and she
Hmm.
was there to sign up Tyler for the Smart Kids class.
Uh-huh.
She was there to sign up my younger brother Rex for the Smart Kids class, and I'm right in the middle of the two. And she wasn't there. She was there to sign me up for speech therapy. You know,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, okay. So they're each going to the Smart Kids class, and I'm going to speech therapy.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember thinking, well, I must be the dumb one. And
Right.
so then I started to believe that, and I started to actually act that way. And I would work really, really hard to make sure I would get 2.9s, like just not get a 3.0, not get over that. Like I would make sure that that's how I was showing up in my life,
Hmm.
because that's the role that I played. And so I wanted to, do what I could to stay there.
Yeah.
So
And so first, I just want to say thank you for your vulnerability there. It's truly
mhm.
awesome to see how far you've come and your ability to go back to those places and be okay sharing that. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome, Chase.
and two, I want to be able to empathize with you as well. So for me, I was the middle child, right? My sister
Mhm.
was the cage fighting, soon to be lawyer, friends to everyone, super smart. My brother was the silent warrior type who was, he had 2% body fat. He was 190 pounds of raw
Mhm.
muscle. And I was kind of the semi chubby thespian, actor. So I can empathize with that. I just kind of stupid. So if you're listening to this, listeners, and you were one of those people, just know there's at least two guys on here that
Yeah.
understand what you're going through.
Any middle children out there, like you get it. you know.
Yeah, it's a good party. So with with your showing up trying to play the role as the stupid brother, right? Was that something you were doing consciously, like you were consciously trying to do bad to get a 2.9, or was that like a subconscious thing that you weren't aware of until later in life?
Yeah, it was more, yeah, more unconscious than conscious. Like
Okay.
I really did believe the lies. Like I did
Right.
believe that I was the stupid one. I
Hmm.
believed that I wasn't as capable as my siblings. Because I believed that
Hmm.
sincerely, and I've since come to find out that those were lies, but
Right.
because I believed that sincerely, it felt authentic almost. Like
Yeah.
getting bad grades, that's who I am. That's what I do. That's
Right.
right. Because I was unconscious of my power and who I was and all of those things.
Right. It's crazy that how our body can have these negative beliefs and then we unconsciously search for confirmations of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. And then,
exactly.
and then we
Ex
create with that after. Yeah.
yeah, which is crazy because
Yeah.
and I know you're going to talk about changing that as you get older. So I'm excited to get to
Yeah.
that point. But so you're up to junior high, and you're starting to live in the shame. How did that evolve after that point in your life?
Um, it took me a while to come out of it. So up through high school, I still used a lot of those shame screens. I still hid. I still did what I could not to be seen.
Hmm.
Um, but I remember getting to a place of misery and getting to a place of thinking something's got to give. Like
Yeah.
there's something off with the way that I'm living.
Hmm.
Like I've life is not fulfilling. Um,
Hmm.
I don't have
And this was in high
friends.
school?
Yeah, this is in high school.
Wow.
And it was about my senior year when I first started my senior year where I made a commitment to myself.
Hmm.
I realized this wasn't working and I realized I was miserable.
Hmm.
And so I just decided, look, I'm gonna lay that out there a little more. I'm gonna be me more in social settings.
Hmm.
People are gonna get to know Brannon, like, and the fact of the
Right.
matter is I'm a little crazy, I'm a little out there, I'm more outgoing probably than I am introverted.
Hmm.
And so I did that, and quickly things started shifting in my life. It was extremely uncomfortable at first.
Hmm.
Um, it was extremely uncomfortable to something is it sounds stupid, but to try out for a choir that I thought that I wouldn't make, right? Like put
Okay.
myself out there.
Yeah.
And then and then to talk in the class and to raise my hand and get to know people and like be me. It was
Yeah.
uncomfortable until it wasn't uncomfortable. I realized, holy cow, like I'm actually this is me. Like
Hmm.
here's the real me.
I love that.
So yeah.
And
It took a while.
yeah, I can. And that's so like, I know you say you're not the smart one, but to realize that in high school, that's pretty profound. That's big brain stuff for
Yeah, I mean
sure.
it took me, Chase, it took me some time. So like started at senior year, like coming out a little bit and being
Yeah.
more me. But through my mission, through college, like I still had to work on that shame day in
Hmm.
and day out, and face it day in and day out and act against it day in and day out
Hmm.
until I started to realize what a lie it was.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah.
And that actually perfectly segue into my next question for you, which is the hero's journey in transformation. And for my listeners who don't know what the hero's journey is, it's essentially a hard moment or pivotal trial that someone has to experience to ultimately become better. So Brandon, what was a hard trial? What was your hero's journey?
So I had opportunity several times to enter the cave that I feared to enter.
Hmm.
And so here I am kind of swirling in, you're the dumb one, you're not good enough, you're not
Right.
smart. And at the time, I was so tied into my brothers because I was the middle of three brothers.
Hmm.
Um, my brother Rex was 2 years younger than me. My brother Tyler was a year older than me. And
Hmm.
so life was just a comparison game. It was, how do I measure up to these guys?
Right.
So Tyler, uh, he tells this story, but he does this like flying header and wins the state soccer tournament, like, and he's carried off the field like a hero,
Hmm.
while he's getting 4.0s and while he's the captain of the basketball team. And he's going on a mission and he becomes the AP, right?
Hmm.
Which is like, which in, our circles meant something back then. So people
Right.
who don't know the Mormon church might not understand that, but it's like, oh, he became a leader on his
Yeah.
mission. So here he is. My parents are just, bubbling. They're just, oh, he's just amazing. And I'm not trying to say this like I'm jealous of that, because I'm not.
Hmm.
But I would have been back then. Like, it was
Right.
like, well, um, I got on my mission at this time when all this was going on, and I had to learn Tagalog. And so here I am,
That
like
almost sounded like
trying.
you were gurgling water, to be honest. So it must have been a complex language.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
so here I am, like the dumb one, sitting there in the early months of my mission, trying
Learning
to learn
Tagalog.
this way foreign language.
Mhm.
And I'm like, so it like the cave for the hero's journey is like, my fear was I'm going to be seen as dumb and not good enough. What I
Right.
needed to do to learn a language was to go speak when people would laugh in my face about how bad it was when I
And
spoke to them.
where do people speak Tagalog?
The
The
Philippines.
Philippines. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So I go to the Philippines, and like, and they are pretty relentless and not afraid to laugh in your face.
Hmm.
Like, you're like the stupid American, right?
Yeah.
And so here I am feeling like I'm the stupid one, being laughed at as the stupid American.
Hmm.
And there's and I had to ask myself a question.
Hmm.
I can either shut up and hide and like try to get through this mission thing, and like, or I can just speak up and not care anymore. Like,
Right.
I'm going to act as if I'm actually smart.
Hmm.
Face this. They can laugh. I'm going to keep acting that way. Like, I'm going to keep being that way. I'm going to show up that way every day.
Hmm.
And in the meantime, Tyler's just like, things are going wonderful for him. I started speaking up. I started gaining confidence. I started getting really good at the language. And I was like, holy freaking crap. I remember telling myself, if
Hmm.
you can learn this language, this is pretty wise for a 20-year-old. If you can learn this language, then you telling yourself this story about being stupid is a lie. That's not true.
Yeah.
So if you learn this language, then you got to let that go.
That is
You
huge
have to
for a
let that
20-year-old.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
learned the language. I learned the language, and was like, uh-oh, I'm not stupid.
What
Well,
now, right?
uh-oh,
Yeah.
shoot. Yeah, well, now what? you know, where do I hide now? Dang it. So,
Yeah. Well, dude,
um,
that's incredible.
yeah.
So you learn the
So,
mission, you learn Tagalog, obviously, you become fluent in it. And then what?
mhm. The stuff with my brothers needed to be worked out a little bit.
Okay.
And I remember my younger brother getting called to leadership on his mission. And this is
Hmm.
after I was home. And me realizing, oh, I'm the only one that was never the AP.
Hmm.
What do you know? And it was that same thing that happened in elementary school.
Gotcha.
And I remember, after going through this kind of letting go of the shame, I remember telling myself, you like, you know what? This means nothing about you. You should be
Right.
really happy. You should really be really happy for your brother. And although I didn't fully believe it in my heart at the time, it hit me like, my worth and my value does not come from a competition with them. Like, I
Right.
love my brothers more than anyone. Like, I love them, and I want them to kill it in life. I want them to succeed. And
Hmm.
so I don't want to cheer against them. But I also don't need to be them.
Right.
And that was another like belief that I just decided to surrender, let go of. And I started becoming their biggest cheerleaders. And and I realized it wasn't until I let that go that I realized how much they both looked up to me and thought of me as someone that was strong and able and all these things. I never could see that until I let go of that with them.
That's
So it,
cool.
it was interesting. Yeah.
That's super cool, Brandon. Thank you for sharing. And for those listening, if you didn't already rewind it and listen to it 5 or 6 times, just to hear the truth there of being able and willing to let go of those negative things and how life just ultimately changes for the better. like go listen to it a couple more times and then share it with someone, because I know there's someone that needs to hear that. If you know a middle child, send it their way.
That's right.
That's amazing, Brandon. Is what a profound life you've lived to be able to ask yourself those questions, right?
Mhm.
There are so many of us, me included, that have gone through life and not asked those hard questions, that haven't asked those deep questions, right? And it's ultimately guys like you that are helping people see themselves in a brighter, better light. And I just think that's phenomenal that you're a warrior, right?
Thanks,
So
Chase.
yeah, dude, I love
Yes.
that. And I really appreciate that. So let's talk coping skills. And I know you have a plethora of them. So you go through this journey and you have to learn all these things and you ask these questions. And ultimately, I mean, you and I both know that to change a mindset, it takes more than just a single question, right? There's practice and there's time. So explain to us some of the coping skills that you developed throughout your life and how they've evolved over time.
Oh, wow. Um, so to me, Chase, and tell me, you can distinguish this for me. There's things that I've learned how to practice to change my perspective
Mhm.
and my paradigm to improve my life to create something better, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I don't know if I call that a coping skill.
Hmm.
Um, whereas a coping skill is maybe a little tool that I can use to get through certain things in life, right?
Yeah.
So I can give you both. I mean, I use both of those things if you
You know
want.
what? Let's talk about both. We've got time.
Okay. Um, so one of the main things that I've learned is if there's something gnawing at me, like
Hmm.
something that I don't want to deal with, um, like I, I have some suffering in my life,
Hmm.
then I've learned how to turn and look the beast in the eye, so to speak,
Okay.
and and step into the discomfort and face the pain of it.
Hmm.
Um, which I think is very, very valuable for me. And
Right.
it goes on and on to this day. Like there's still things like, I'll give you an example. If I have an issue with my partner at work
Hmm.
and it really needs to be discussed and we need to talk about it and we need to have a hard conversation,
Hmm.
instead of beating around the bush, instead of coming across way too aggressive, learning how to step into that discomfort, knowing it's going to be uncomfortable,
Hmm.
and knowing that something good is going to come out of that discomfort.
Hmm.
Um, I almost, um, I almost look forward to those opportunities now in my life, as
Yeah.
opposed to figure out all the ways to not have them and all
Hmm.
the ways to run from them. Because it gives me opportunity for growth and strength.
Yeah.
Um, so like
Absolutely.
like like cold plunge is a good example of that, right, Chase? You
Right.
cold plunge,
I
I cold
love
plunge,
cold. Yeah, we
right?
love cold plunging.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Is like every day, every day. I mean, I got this new cold plunge at my house, Chase. I don't
Oh,
know if
that's
you've
cool.
done it. Have you ever done it in like a trough?
I have. My dad has a trough and I plunge in his
Oh,
trough.
then is it metal?
And it's not metal, thank heavens, it's
Oh,
plastic, but it gets down to that 50-ish degree temperature
whew,
and
it
it's
can get
cold.
cold. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But okay, so you have a metal trough.
yeah. So the principle is every day you look at that water and you learn I can face that discomfort. I can sit in it. I can get relief, and then I can get the benefits from sitting in that discomfort. And it's it's a when you embrace that in life, then you can embrace that in your relationships. You can embrace that with your workout. You can embrace that with your relationship with God.
Mhm.
um it's a principle to live by, that can provide resilience and strength and growth throughout your life, right? Am I making
Yeah.
sense?
Oh, you're making total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some other coping skills?
um so one of my favorites, Chase,
Hmm.
honestly, is just it's so simple, but
Okay.
it's just talking something out with a support system.
Okay.
If struggles are coming, this, like, for example, this winter I've gotten a little seasonal depression come up, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah.
um I tried to stay active. I tried to, but what I've done is just talked to my brother. I've talked to my wife,
Hmm.
just telling them how I'm feeling, talking it out. getting support, having people that hold space for me,
Hmm.
is one of the most important coping skills in life, I believe.
And I agree with you because I think Tyler, he did a podcast episode on this where he talked about how when you talk things out, it actually moves in your brain where that thought is residing, and it brings it, is it your prefrontal cortex is where it brings it to?
Yep. Yep. So it moves, your limbic system is trying to figure it out for your survival,
Hmm.
and just trying to do what it automatically does to try to survive. When you go conscious with it, when you acknowledge it and say it out loud, you now have it, and then you can do something with it. And
Right.
so if I called you, Chase, and I'm like, hey, I'm struggling, man. Like, I want to, I want to just like watch porn all night and eat, junk food.
Hmm.
I got it here now. It's right here in front of me
You
because
know exactly. Yeah.
I said it out loud to you, right?
Right. Now you can
So
do something with it.
now I can figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, man. And it's good also too. Like, I think it's important to mention that for those people who like with a support system, if you call someone and they say like, yeah, dude, go for it. That sounds like a great night. Probably not the best support system for you. Even though those can be tools to get you through the night.
Not
Right.
not just everybody is a support system.
Right.
So some people are using buddies, right?
Right. Right.
And
Trying to get their
so
worth from them.
yeah, the people that are your support system are the one that want your greater good. They're the one
Right.
that they're going to fight like hell for you. They'll be honest with you when you don't want them to be honest.
Right.
And they'll give you empathy when you're in the deepest pain. They're not going to run from you and hand
Right.
you a beer, right, or whatever to
Right.
numb it out, right?
Right.
They're just going to sit in it with you. So that's a support system.
I love that. Two phenomenal skills: cold plunging and support system talking.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
right.
Now, what about some of those things that you talk about that help you get to a higher level of life, right? That second part of the question. What are some of those things?
Oh, I've done some deep trauma work.
Okay.
And I've done some of it with you, Chase, actually.
Oh,
I've done
interesting.
some holotropic breathing
Yes.
exercises that can be quite intense, and
Yes.
yeah. Um, I like to emote, so I like to move energy. Can I get a little weird with you for a second, Chase?
Dude, let's be weird. I love it.
Yeah. I believe we're all energy, right?
Oh,
And so when
100%.
we're suffering and we're stuck, like we got to move it. We need to flow it. We got to,
Right.
and so things like breath work,
Hmm.
um, plant medicine is huge for me. It's a huge
Okay.
part of what I do.
Okay.
Um, so I've been to Peru several times, to do plant medicine and to take people down there.
Hmm.
Um, and so the plant medicine kind of removes the protective parts in the ego and allows that soul to open up to some healing.
Right.
Um, and so that work has been really profound for some deeper healing and understanding of self and
It's amazing.
all of those things. So
Yeah, that's really cool. And no, I'm sure we could spend a whole nother hour talking about plant medicine and the benefits of it. But for those who have like thought about it or they're interested in it, like if you could describe what beyond what you've already said, like if someone was interested in doing that in plant medicine to find their higher self, like what should people expect from something like that, right?
yeah, I'm not to go off on this for too long or make this whole show about that, but
Right.
just like it will call to you. So like if you're wanting to do it because hey, I want to go do drugs or whatever, like stop for a second
Hmm.
and ask yourself what's calling to you. Are you
Right.
being called to some deeper healing? Plant medicine's hard work. Like it can
Gotcha.
be really hard work. But if you're willing to do it, the medicine will call to you and you'll find a way to get in the right place to
Hmm.
do it. Now, if you have the wrong intentions, you can find yourself in the wrong place doing it, which can
Right.
be destructive to you and your soul and your healing and all those things. So,
And yeah, and
yeah.
everyone knows the stories of the overdoses, right? We all have those friends or those friends of friends that have done that. So I think that's really beneficial. Like look at your intent.
Yeah, your intent also like be safe and educate, like
Hmm.
know what you're getting yourself into. Plant medicine really isn't that dangerous.
Hmm.
physically, like psychedelics aren't.
Hmm.
Um, However, emotionally, spiritually, you don't want to bust yourself open unless you're really ready and
Right.
in the right setting, and ready to do the work in the right way.
Yeah. That actually leads to a great question I have for you. What got you to that point? What got you to the point where you were like, I'm ready for some really deep stuff?
Some real burnout. Some
Okay.
real burnout. I love being a therapist. I just love my clients and I love people so much.
Hmm.
And because of that, um, doing therapy with people depleted me because I was so invested.
Hmm.
Um, my like I'm an empath and
Right.
I was burned out with my empathy. It's just too much.
Hmm.
Um and so I got to this place of like I feel so good about my life and my life purpose and what I've done,
Hmm.
and I feel so tired and so spent and so done. And right then, a opportunity for a Peru trip and a plant medicine journey came into my life, and I thought I need to make some shifts. I got to make some changes.
Hmm.
Maybe this will help me see what those are. And so I went on this journey, and it absolutely helped me see what those are. And it showed me how I can both get all this purpose in my life that I want, but also live the life that I want at the same time.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think there's so much to speak about there too, about living the life you want. Because I know so many people, like even including myself at times, I'll sit there and I'll do just a quick life assessment of where I'm at. And it'll turn into this like, I'm not totally fulfilled. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm not the only one who thinks that. So what did it look like for you to take those steps to greater fulfillment? Right. You do the plant medicine, you come home, and you know that there's changes that have to be made. How did you personally like what changes did you have to make if you're willing to share? And what steps did you take to implement those?
So we like a lot of our like the reasons why we suffer is because we're really good at getting comfortable,
Yeah.
and so we get comfortable in these lives that create certain outcomes, and so we're like, well, yeah, the outcomes in my life aren't exactly what I really desire, but I'm so comfortable in the life that I've created, I don't want to actually change anything, because I'm so comfortable.
Hmm.
So if that's the case, then what that speaks to is that it requires living on the edge a little bit.
Hmm.
It requires putting yourself there, out there just a little bit, out like your healing and your growth and your life fulfillment happens outside your comfort zone.
Right.
Um, and so, I go down, I do this plant medicine journey, and I get these answers,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh, fetch, like, dang it, like there's still some edge to go step out on. There's still some
Right.
cave to enter, so to speak.
Hmm.
Um, Things like, I have a caseload of 25 sessions a week where I can make decent money and help people. And what I've worked really hard to get these referral sources and build this practice up. Why would I tell people no, I can't? Why would I
Right.
not do that day of therapy, that 8-hour day of therapy on Mondays when I know I can make the money and I know I can help people?
Hmm.
And but the medicine's saying this isn't your life purpose to be burned out all the time.
Right.
So it's like actually saying no to doing therapy on that day, and and redirecting my efforts somewhere different,
Hmm.
um was difficult.
Yeah.
um and so I got down to doing one session a week, um and that's all I do now. um and so but it wasn't easy, like,
Right.
but what's crazy is I help more people now, I
Hmm.
make more money, and I'm not burned out.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, so I listened to that. I took those hard steps, and I'm reaping the consequences of that now.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So
It's how hard was it? So I know you said it was difficult, but like, what did that difficulty look like for you to walk away from everything you built?
there's this really weird feeling. I remember one day I was hiking with a friend on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
Hmm.
up on a mountain. And the reason why I tell you when that is because what should you be doing at Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Should be working.
Right.
Right.
And I remember thinking like, whoa, why is it okay that I'm here on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon hiking? Well,
Hmm.
how is that okay? And there was this discomfort. There was this should like voices all around me, like, you shouldn't be comfortable doing this. And I had to sit in that. I had to recognize those voices and enjoy my hike.
Hmm.
Um, and I had to do that again and again until I got used to living outside of those should some. Um, and realizing that they weren't going to dictate my life and what my life is, so that I can enjoy the self-care that I need on that Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I love that. I love that. That is so cool. Thank you for sharing.
You're
You're,
welcome.
I love that you, I mean, we've talked business, we've talked recovery, we've talked spirituality, we've talked science. This is so cool. I love episodes. I love episodes like this because they go the natural path, and I love it. And I know people are loving this as well. So thank you, Brannon. So
You're welcome.
next question I have for you. You've obviously lived a very long and fulfilling and unfulfilling in some way life, and you've asked those hard questions. You've done those hard things, right? You've gotten to this point where you're farther along in your journey. What can you appreciate looking back about all of the hard stuff that you've been through?
Hmm. Um, I mean, I'm so grateful for it
Hmm.
because it's just growth. Um,
Right.
every bump, every struggle, I look back and some of the lessons took way too long for me to learn. I would say I have some regret. Like there's some, um, but I'm even grateful for the process of it taking so long for me to learn some of those lessons.
Right.
Um, and so, uh, I come from a place where everything was laid out in front of me the way that it should be. And I
Hmm.
feel like I've gotten myself to a place now, and I still got a lot of work to go, where I'm open to whatever's going to be.
Yeah.
Where I have resilience to life as it comes
That's
at
cool.
me now. Does
That's
that make
amazing.
sense?
Oh, it makes total sense.
Yeah,
It's like no matter, for maybe the listeners, like no matter what comes your way, you know you have the ability to make it through it.
exactly. Versus thinking I should do a certain thing to create a certain life, and if I do these things, then I'll get those things. And that's how I was raised.
Hmm.
Now it's do the best that I can, let go of the rest, and watch to see what God has for me.
That's
Right.
cool. Okay, I'm making that shift in my life today. I
Yeah. Do it, Chase.
feel a little bit of guilt as you were talking. I was like, "Oh, yeah, he's talking about me," and then you're like, and then I had this cool thing. It's just like, "Oh, I got some work to do." Always work to do. But
Yeah.
no, that's amazing. Thank you. It's cool. It's one of my favorite questions is the appreciation for the journey, is because so many people in their journey hate it, right? They hate the
Right.
process of being uncomfortable and doing hard things. And I love to give people hope, right? Hope is
Yes.
phenomenal. And that question right there instills hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Eh, There's always everything, if you're in the blackest hole ever, and I know this invalidates how you feel when I say this
Mhm,
because you feel hopeless,
mhm.
but man, there's a lot of opportunity in that black hole. Like, because if you get when you get yourself out, you look back and be like, look what I did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, seriously. There's so much confidence, humble confidence that comes from the darkness, from those
Ab-
caves.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, there's a quote that I know you and your brother Tyler love. It's like the cave you least want to enter is where the gold lies. Or what's the
Yeah.
quote?
The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek.
Yes, there
Yes.
you go.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
it's, yeah, I love it. It's cool. So last question for you, Brandon.
Okay.
Advice for others. So for those just getting into the realm of mental health, those just discovering that they, like us at one point, are and will be messed up, what advice do you have for those people? What advice do you have for those people just getting into the realm of mental health?
Well, first off, we're all messed up. So, um, it's the nature of life
Right.
to to have problems, and that's the opportunity for growth. So
Yeah.
the main advice I would have is just we cling to way too much.
Yeah.
Like don't cling to things, and accept everything, cling to nothing. So that it's an old Buddhist belief.
Hmm.
So what that means is when things happen in your life, it happened. Accept it, see it, feel it, know it. It's reality.
Right.
But when you cling to that it shouldn't have happened, or it should have happened this way, or it better happen again that way, then you're stuck in anxiety, and you're engineering the whole thing, and you're doing yourself, you're causing the only suffering that
Right.
there is,
To have
right?
an expectation of something that isn't true is only going to leave room open for resentment in your life
That's
towards
it.
yourself.
That's it.
Love
Yeah.
it.
I always say expectations are just premeditated resentments.
I love it.
So let go of the expectations, and accept life on its terms as it comes in.
Well, yeah,
Right.
and if you think about it in like any sort of higher power, right? Like Jesus Christ, he was homeless, right? And he was a woodworker. That's very simple. Buddha,
Right.
he teaches like you live with a lap sack and then you travel
Right.
and you live with just your bed. So it's like, yeah, I mean, there's and Elon Musk, if we look in today's age, right? He says,
Hmm.
don't have things because they weigh you down. There is something
Right.
so beautiful and perfect about simplicity.
Yep. And all of that can be a metaphor for our emotions and those type of things. When we cling, when we hang on, when we hold, it'll
Hmm.
weigh you down. And when you let it flow through, you see it, you use it, you feel it, you move on. You're free.
Amen. Okay. There you go. A great spot. So, Brannon, obviously people have been enthralled with this conversation. I know it. I'm projecting it. It's just happening as people are listening to this. What are some ways people can get in contact with you if they've got more questions, if they want to come to some of your retreats, if they want to be a part of your programs? Where can they find you?
Yeah. The website, the Brannon Patrick Show, Brannon. You can check me out there. You can
Okay.
ask me questions there. But Tyler and I were working on Reclaim Your Heart. So you can check out our retreats, risingsun .org or radiantdawn.org for women. And so you can find our retreats there. You can go to the brandonpatrickshow.com, or you can find therapyutah.org. If you need some good therapy. We have the best therapists here. So
I agree with you wholeheartedly, except for Tyler. He's not there, but
he's the man.
he's
Yeah.
the man. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
Brannon, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on.
You're welcome, Chase. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. So everyone, I'll put his contact information in the description. So if you want to get a hold of him, the stuff is just down there. If you want to come on the show, first I want to actually thank you for listening to the entire episode. This has been a truly phenomenal conversation and podcast. Again, if you want to come on the show, just understand that no story is too big and no name is too small. If you have a story, I do want to share it all. So please contact me at chase@thewellnesscenter.life. If you want to know a little bit more about what I do on my day-to-day practice, go to thewellnesscenter.life, where red light therapy rejuvenates your cells one session at a time. Everyone have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace out.